You wouldn't believe the things you could find at a yard sale. It was a sunny Saturday morning when I found myself rummaging through trinkets and old furniture at the corner of Elm Street. There, nestled amongst faded books and chipped china, was a necklace that caught my eye. It was an enchanting piece, with a single fiery red gem that seemed to pulse with a life of its own. The necklace was displayed on a dusty velvet cushion, its silver chain glinting in the sunlight. It was as if it were waiting for me, calling to me in a way I couldn't ignore. I was drawn to it, compelled to hold it, to feel the cool metal against my skin. The woman who sold it to me was a peculiar figure, her eyes as gray and weathered as the cobblestones under my feet. She had a strange, distant look about her, as if she were seeing something far beyond this yard sale. Her hands, gnarled and aged, moved with an eerie grace as she handed me the necklace. I remember her words as clear as day. "Take good care of it, dear. It has a mind of its own." I laughed it off then, thinking it to be nothing more than the ramblings of an old woman. But there was a seriousness in her gaze, a warning that I chose to ignore. As I handed over the few coins for the necklace, I felt an immediate connection to it. It was as if we were bound by some unseen force, a tether that linked my heart to the heart of the gem. It was a feeling I couldn't shake, a feeling that would stay with me long after I left the yard sale. The necklace was a thing of beauty, but its allure was more than just aesthetic. There was a sense of familiarity, a sense of belonging that I couldn't quite put my finger on. I wore it proudly, oblivious to the strange looks from those around me. Little did I know the necklace was far from ordinary. Soon after wearing the necklace, things started to feel off. It began subtly, a whisper of a chill creeping down my spine, a shiver that seemed to come from nowhere. I'd be sitting in the warmth of my home, and suddenly I'd feel a cold gust of wind, as if an unseen window had been opened. Then came the dreams, vivid and unsettling. I would find myself in a world draped in shadows, a labyrinth of darkness, with the necklace as my only source of light. In these dreams, I'd be running, heart pounding, the echo of my footsteps the only sound in the eerie silence. The necklace, it seemed, had become a part of me. It was always there, its weight comforting yet oppressive. I found myself touching it, almost obsessively, as if it were a talisman that could ward off the growing unease. And then there was the feeling of being watched. It was constant, unsettling. I would be alone in a room, and yet I'd feel the prickling sensation of eyes on me, as if I were on display for an unseen audience. The changes were subtle, almost imperceptible. A misplaced item here, an unexplained noise there. But as the days passed, these changes grew, intensifying into a cacophony of inexplicable events. I found myself constantly on edge, jumping at the slightest noise, heart pounding at the smallest shadow. The necklace, once a charming trinket, had become an obsession. I was drawn to it, captivated by its mysterious allure. The more I wore it, the more I felt its pull, a siren's call that I couldn't resist. And yet, despite the growing fear, despite the unsettling changes, I couldn't bring myself to take it off. It was as if the necklace had woven a spell around me, ensnaring me in its grip. I couldn't shake off the feeling that something was terribly wrong. As the days turned into weeks, the feeling grew, a seed of dread that had taken root in my heart. I was trapped in a nightmare, caught in the web of a curse I didn't understand, a curse that was growing stronger with each passing day. It was only when I met Mrs. Henderson that I discovered the horrifying truth. You see, Mrs. Henderson was no ordinary lady. She was a local historian, known far and wide for her keen knowledge of all things antique and unusual. One day, I coincidentally crossed paths with her at the town library. As we exchanged pleasantries, her eyes fell on the necklace I was wearing, the same one I'd picked up from the yard sale. Her reaction was immediate and unnerving. Her face turned pale, as if she had seen a ghost. She reached out, trembling, to touch the necklace hanging around my neck. "Where did you get this?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. I told her about the yard sale and how the necklace had caught my fancy. The revelation she made next sent chills down my spine. According to her, the necklace was not just another piece of jewelry. It had a dark, harrowing past. It was said to be cursed, carrying with it a demonic possession. She told me about a tale she'd read in an old town record, a story about a young woman who'd worn the necklace centuries ago. This woman, much like me, had bought the necklace unaware of its ominous past. It wasn't long before she was tormented by an unseen force, one that took hold of her life and twisted it into a living nightmare. Mrs. Henderson's words echoed in my mind as I held the necklace in my hand. It looked so innocent, so harmless, yet it carried a curse, a dark entity that had the power to possess its wearer. The realization was terrifying. The necklace, which I had once found enchanting, suddenly felt heavy around my neck. I could almost feel its dark energy seeping into me, a silent whisper of the chaos it could unleash. I was standing at the edge of a precipice, overlooking a darkness I had unknowingly invited into my life. I was wearing a cursed necklace and I didn't even know it. I knew I had to get rid of the necklace, but it wasn't going to let me. That's when the real struggle began. It was as if the necklace had burrowed into my soul, becoming a part of me, a part I was desperate to exorcise. Each attempt to remove it was like a battle of wills, mine against an unseen adversary that was growing stronger by the day. The physical toll was immense. Sleep became a foreign concept, replaced by fitful bouts of restless tossing and turning. Each morning, I'd wake up exhausted, my reflection in the mirror a ghastly image of dark circles under hollow eyes. My strength was dwindling, my resolve weakening, but more terrifying was the mental toll. The necklace was in my thoughts, invading my dreams, whispering in my ear with a voice that was not my own. In my once peaceful home, the paranormal activities escalated. Shadows danced on the walls, objects moved of their own accord, and an icy chill permeated every room. The necklace was asserting its dominance, its influence growing with each passing day. I could feel it wrapping itself around my thoughts, my actions, my very being. I tried everything. I sought help from priests and paranormal experts, but their attempts to cleanse the necklace only seemed to fuel its power. The more I resisted, the more aggressive it became. I was losing myself, losing my grip on reality. The line between the living and the dead was blurring. The necklace was no longer just a piece of jewelry. It had become my tormentor, my oppressor. It was a demonic entity that had claimed me as its host and was not willing to let go. I was not just battling a necklace, I was battling a force of darkness that was threatening to consume me. I was trapped in my own horror story. The necklace was not just on my neck, it was in me, around me, everywhere. It had turned my life into a living nightmare, a battle within that was far from over. I was losing myself, but I wasn't ready to give up. My mind was a battleground, my very soul the prize. The necklace, that cursed piece of jewelry I'd bought on a whim, had become a chain, binding me to a darkness I could never have imagined. I knew I had to rid myself of the necklace, but it wasn't as simple as taking it off. It had become a part of me, or rather, I had become a part of it. The entity within was powerful, and it wouldn't let go without a fight. So I devised a plan. It was a desperate one, born out of fear and necessity. I needed to confront the entity, to face it head-on. I would have to venture into the depths of my own psyche, into the darkness that the necklace had created within me. It was a terrifying prospect, but it was my only hope. The confrontation was more terrifying than anything I could have imagined. It was like standing on the edge of an abyss, staring into the void. The entity was there, a monstrous, shadowy figure, a manifestation of the necklace's malevolent power. It was a force of pure, unadulterated evil, and it wanted nothing more than to consume me. I was terrified, but I held my ground. I faced the entity, faced my fear, and I fought. It was a battle of wills, a struggle for dominance. I could feel the necklace's power, its pull, its desire to control me, but I resisted. I pushed back, fought with every ounce of strength I had left. And then finally, it was over. The entity recoiled, retreating back into the necklace. I seized the moment, ripped the necklace from my neck, and cast it away. The darkness receded, replaced by a sense of relief so profound it was almost palpable. I was finally free, but the scars remained. The necklace was gone, but its influence lingered. I was left with a chilling reminder of the darkness that had once consumed me, a reminder of the battle I had fought and won. Life after the necklace was never the same. Each day dawned with a reminder of the haunting ordeal. The once innocent yard sale trinket had left an indelible mark, not just on me, but on everyone around. The echoes of its sinister whispers still rang in our ears, the chilling touch of its malevolent aura still lingered in our hearts. But as the days turned into weeks and weeks into months, the sinister whispers became distant echoes. The chilling touch dissolved into a cold shiver that no longer held the power to paralyze. We learned to live with the aftermath, to acknowledge the scars, but not let them define our lives. The ordeal had taught us a valuable lesson. It made us realize the existence of forces beyond our comprehension, forces that demanded respect and caution. It taught us to tread lightly on the path of the unknown, to be wary of the allure of the unexplored. And so, I learned, some things are better left untouched, especially at yard sales. Y'all, we're wrapping up here, but don't you go anywhere just yet. Show some love, hit that like button. Fancy more content like this? Go on, subscribe and let that bell icon ring so you won't miss a beat. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, sharing is caring. Until next time, stay tuned.